the shocking electric bill. Lily stared at the electric bill, the numbers swimming before her eyes. $873.42? Last month it had been $215. Something was terribly wrong. The paper crinkled in her hand as she smoothed it out on the kitchen counter, rereading the figures as if sheer force of will could shrink them. The house was quiet. Her parents were still upstairs. She tapped the bill against her teeth, a nervous habit she'd picked up from her dad. Had they accidentally left the AC blasting all month? Even then, it wouldn't explain this astronomical jump. Maybe there was a decimal point in the wrong place? She squinted, examining the printed form for any errors. Nothing. Mom? Dad? She called, her voice echoing slightly in the otherwise still house. Her mom, dressed in her usual weekend yoga pants and t-shirt, appeared first, her brow furrowed. What is it, sweetie? You look like you've seen a ghost. Lily held up the bill. This electric bill. It's insane. Her dad lumbered down the stairs, tucking in his shirt. He took the bill from Lily, his eyes widening as he scanned the total. Good heavens, he muttered, running a hand through his already disheveled hair. That's more than our mortgage. Exactly, Lily exclaimed, throwing her hands up. What could possibly cause this? Did we accidentally power the entire neighborhood? Her mom frowned, tapping a manicured nail against her chin. I haven't noticed anything different. The appliances seem to be working normally. I haven't started mining cryptocurrency in the basement, her dad joked weakly, but the humor fell flat. He flipped the bill over, examining the usage chart on the back. This is strange. The usage spiked dramatically about 2 weeks ago and hasn't come down. Lily felt a knot tighten in her stomach. 2 weeks ago. That was right around the time Mrs. Davison had gotten her shiny new Tesla. A chilling thought slithered into her mind. Okay, her dad said, a determined glint in his eye. I'm going to call the electric company and see if there's been a meter reading error. There has to be some explanation. He patted Lily's shoulder reassuringly. Don't worry, we'll figure it out. But Lily couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than just a simple mistake. The numbers didn't lie, and she had a sneaking suspicion where the truth might be hiding. Mystery at the outlet. $400. Dad roared, brandishing the electric bill like a weapon. Lily winced. This was worse than she thought. This is insane. We haven't changed anything. Are you sure you haven't been leaving all the lights on, Lily? Dad? Of course not, she protested, exasperated. She knew he was stressed, but the implication stung. He sighed, rubbing his temples. Okay. Sorry. This is crazy. I'm going to check the meter. He grabbed his flashlight and headed outside. Lily followed, curiosity piqued. She'd never seen him this agitated about a bill before. He fiddled with the meter, muttering numbers under his breath. Anything? She asked, trying to peer over his shoulder. He said, his brow furrowed. It's definitely higher than it should be. I'm going to check the outside outlets. He moved around the side of the house, Lily trailing behind. He knelt down, examining the outlet near the back patio. He touched the plastic cover, then recoiled slightly. That's warm, he said slowly. Like it's been used recently. Lily's eyes widened. Used? By who? He stood up, a grim look on his face. That's what I'd like to know. We haven't used that outlet in weeks. Not since Christmas lights. Someone's been using our electricity, Lily. Without our permission. He ran a hand through his hair, the gesture conveying his rising anxiety. Lily felt a surge of indignation. That's stealing. Exactly, Dad said, his voice hardening. He glanced around the yard, as if expecting the culprit to materialize. But who would do that? And why? He looked at Lily, a question in his eyes. She shook her head, equally baffled. The mystery at the outlet had begun. The new Tesla on the block. The Davisons' new Tesla, a gleaming obsidian behemoth, sat parked in their driveway like a smug trophy. It practically hummed with self-importance, radiating a silent superiority that mirrored Agnes Davison herself. Lily scowled as she passed it on her way back from the mailbox. Mrs. Davison got her Tesla, her dad said that evening, stirring sugar into his tea. Means we'll probably have to revisit the HOA guidelines on electric vehicle charging. She'll be wanting to plug in all the time, you know. Lily snorted. Bet she's already figured out a way to get free electricity. He chuckled. Now, Lily, don't go jumping to conclusions. But Lily knew her dad. He suspected something too. 2 days later, Lily was weeding her mom's rose bushes when she saw Agnes Davison emerge from the thick hedge that separated their properties. Agnes was crouched low, fiddling with something near the base of the fence. She glanced around nervously, her usual rigid posture softened by a furtive crouch. Lily narrowed her eyes. Agnes was wearing gardening gloves, but her expensive silk scarf seemed out of place for yard work. As Agnes stood, Lily saw a glint of metal, a small, rectangular box attached to their fence. A surge protector? Why would Agnes be messing with their electrical setup? Agnes caught Lily's eye and froze, her face flushing an unbecoming shade of crimson. "Just admiring your roses, dear," she stammered, her voice higher than usual. "Right," Lily said, her voice laced with suspicion. "Admiring them with a surge protector?" Agnes's eyes darted to the box, then back to Lily, a flicker of panic in their depths. I must be going," she said, her usual commanding tone replaced with a breathless whisper. She hurried back towards her house, the silk scarf flapping behind her like a flag of hasty retreat. Lily stared at the hedge, her mind racing. Something was definitely going on, and it had something to do with that new Tesla. A midnight charge. Lily tossed and turned, the hum of the refrigerator the loudest sound in the small apartment. Sleep evaded her. The stale air felt thick, each breath a reminder of the summer heat clinging stubbornly to the city. Finally, she gave up. Pushing aside the thin cotton sheet, she padded to the window. The street was quiet, bathed in the orange glow of the sodium streetlights. A cat darted across the road, a fleeting shadow against the asphalt. As Lily leaned against the window frame, a different movement caught her eye. Mrs. Davison, their HOA president, was creeping across her manicured lawn. Lily frowned. What was she doing at this hour? Mrs. Davison was dressed in a dark, shapeless robe, her usually impeccable silver hair disheveled. She moved with a furtive energy that seemed at odds with her usual composed demeanor. Then Lily saw it. Mrs. Davison was heading directly for the outdoor outlet on the side of their building, the one they used for holiday lights. In her hand, she carried a thick, black cable. Lily's breath hitched. She watched, disbelief solidifying into anger, as Mrs. Davison fumbled with the outlet cover. The click as it opened echoed in the still night. Then, with a practiced ease that suggested this wasn't her first time, she plugged the cable in. A low hum, almost imperceptible, filled the air. Lily recognized the sound. It was the charging hum of an electric car. And Mrs. Davison owned a Tesla. Lily threw open the window. "Mrs. Davison," she called out, her voice sharp. Mrs. Davison froze, illuminated by the harsh light of the window. She turned slowly, her face a mask of poorly concealed panic. The black cable snaked from her hand, connected to their outlet, and disappearing into the darkness towards her pristine Tesla parked in her driveway. "Lily, what are you doing up?" Mrs. Davison's voice was strained, a desperate attempt at normalcy. She tugged at the cable, trying to unplug it. "What do you think I'm doing, Mrs. Davison? I'm watching you steal electricity from my building." Lily's voice dripped with indignation. Mrs. Davison yanked the cable free, the plastic connector snapping loudly in the quiet night. I can explain," she stammered, clutching the cable to her chest like a guilty secret. Then, without another word, she turned and scurried back across the lawn, disappearing into her house. The cable trailed behind her like a discarded snake. Denials and rudeness. Lily and her dad found Mrs. Davison tending her prize-winning roses, the late afternoon sun painting them in hues of fiery orange and delicate pink. "Mrs. Davison," Lily's dad began, his voice carefully neutral, "we were hoping to have a quick word with you." Mrs. Davison straightened, a pair of clippers dangling from her gloved hand. Her expression was tight, and Lily noticed a faint tremor in her fingers. "If it's about the petunias, I assure you, the sprinkler system malfunctioned. A complete accident." "It's not about the petunias," Lily interjected, before her dad could even respond. "It's about the electricity usage. We've noticed a significant spike, and it seems to coincide with your—" Lily paused, searching for a polite way to phrase it. "With your electric car charging." The blood drained from Mrs. Davison's face. "I have no idea what you're talking about." Her voice was sharp, like shattered glass. "How dare you accuse me of such a thing? I would never." Lily's dad tried again. "We reviewed the usage reports in detail, and it's unusual. If there's a problem with your charger—" "My charger is brand new, state-of-the-art. And it's none of your business, young man. I pay my HOA fees just like everyone else. More, probably, considering the premium I pay for my landscaping." She snipped a perfect rose, the action far more aggressive than necessary. Lily stepped forward. "We're not accusing you, Mrs. Davison. We're just trying to understand the increase. It's a shared utility, after all. If you're not using it, do you have a suggestion for who might be?" Really, Mrs. Davison said, her nose practically in the air. I haven't the faintest idea. Perhaps your calculations are simply flawed. Or perhaps you're using more electricity than you realize. After all, she added with a saccharine smile that didn't reach her eyes, some of us are more technologically advanced than others. She turned her back on them, snipping another rose with unnecessary force. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have roses to tend to. Lily exchanged a frustrated glance with her dad. This was going nowhere. The power thief trap. Okay, Operation Catch-A-What is officially underway, Dad announced, his eyes gleaming with a mischievous spark Lily hadn't seen in a while. He cleared the kitchen table, scattering bills and half-finished crossword puzzles, and laid out a collection of wires, resistors, and a small breadboard. Lily perched on a stool, chin resting on her hand, watching with rapt attention. So, this is going to catch Mrs. Davison? This, Dad said, holding up a tiny component, is a current sensor. It's like a little electronic bloodhound, sniffing out changes in the electrical current. He explained, pointing to the breadboard. When Mrs. Davison's Tesla starts sucking power, this sensor will detect the spike. That spike will trigger this relay, which will then. He paused for dramatic effect. Send a signal to my laptop, logging the exact time and duration of the power theft. Lily frowned. But how will that fry her charger like you said? Patience, grasshopper, Dad chuckled. First, we need proof. Once we have irrefutable evidence, we can adjust the voltage regulator on our line. A little surge, just enough to, shall we say, discourage further unauthorized charging. Lily's eyes widened. That's sneaky. Strategic, Dad corrected, winking. He handed her a small bag of jumper wires. Here, help me connect these resistors. Red to the third slot on the left, then black to the ground rail. The smell of solder filled the air as they worked, a strange mix of metallic tang and burnt plastic. Lily carefully connected the wires, feeling a thrill of excitement. This wasn't just about electricity, it was about justice. About stopping Mrs. Davison's blatant disregard for the rules, and her smug, self-satisfied grin. Almost there, Dad murmured, adjusting a potentiometer. Now, we just need to calibrate the sensor. He plugged the circuit into a spare outlet. A small LED flickered to life. Bingo. Lily grinned. Let's catch a thief. Setting the stage. Careful, Lily. This wire is live even when it's off. Dad's brow furrowed as he connected the last alligator clip to the breadboard circuit. The scent of ozone hung faintly in the air, a testament to his earlier struggles with the soldering iron. He'd nearly set his beard on fire. So, if she plugs in her little car charger thingy, zap? Lily asked, eyes wide. She pointed a finger at the outlet. Not zap, exactly, Dad chuckled, adjusting his glasses. Think more like a polite interruption. The circuit will trip, cutting off the power. Hopefully, she'll be startled enough for our little friend here to catch her in the act. He gestured to the tiny camera, disguised as a smoke detector, perched precariously on top of the bookshelf. Lily frowned. But what if it doesn't work? What if it just doesn't do anything? That's why we tested, Dad said, grabbing a hairdryer from the bathroom. He plugged it into the suspect outlet. Lily held her breath. He flipped the switch. The hairdryer roared to life, blowing hot air towards the dusty volumes on the shelf. For a moment, nothing happened. Lily bit her lip. Then, with a satisfying click, the circuit breaker tripped. The hairdryer sputtered and died. Yes. Lily pumped her fist. Nailed it. Dad grinned, wiping sweat from his forehead. Now for the camera. He pulled out his phone and fiddled with an app. Okay, I'm getting a live feed. Bit grainy, but it'll do. The angle is good. We can see the outlet and most of the garage. Lily peered at the phone screen. A blurry image of a toolbox filled the frame. Can you zoom in a little? And maybe make it less toolbox Y. Dad adjusted the camera angle. How's that? Now the outlet was in full view, along with a strategic sliver of the driveway. Perfect, Lily declared. A nervous flutter tickled her stomach. This was it. They were finally ready. Let's catch a thief, Dad. Caught in the act. Lily chewed on her thumbnail, eyes glued to the blinking LED on the breadboard. Her dad hovered beside her, phone in hand, the video camera app open. Hours they'd spent, wiring, soldering, and testing. Hours culminating in this moment, a vigil in their dimly lit living room. Patience, lily pad, her dad murmured, ruffling her hair. These things take time. Besides, the slower she charges, the more we're costing her in peak hour rates. Suddenly, the small red LED flared, burning bright against the pale green of the circuit board. Lily gasped. Dad, it's on. It's really on. Her dad's fingers danced across his phone screen, stopping the recording. He replayed the last few seconds, zooming in on the circuit board, then expanded to show the timestamp overlaid on the video. Bingo, he said, a grim satisfaction in his voice. Proof positive. He strode towards the door, phone clutched in his hand. Lily, heart pounding, followed close behind. Outside, Mrs. Davison's Tesla sat gleaming under the streetlight, plugged into what appeared to be an ordinary extension cord snaking across her lawn towards the Chin's external outlet. Mr. Chin marched across the manicured lawn, his shadow looming over the pristine white vehicle. He rapped sharply on Mrs. Davison's front door. The door swung open, revealing Mrs. Davison in a silk robe, her face a mask of feigned surprise. Mr. Chin, is something the matter? Something is very much the matter, Mrs. Davison, he said, his voice calm but firm. He held up his phone, the video playing on loop. The bright red LED blinked accusingly from the screen. Perhaps you can explain this? Mrs. Davison's smile faltered. Her eyes darted from the phone to the extension cord, then back to Mr. Chin. A flush crept up her neck. I have no idea what you're talking about. Don't insult my intelligence, Mr. Chin said, stepping closer. I have video evidence of you stealing electricity from my property to charge your vehicle. I suggest you unplug it immediately. Mrs. Davison's shoulders slumped. The fight seemed to drain out of her. Fine, she mumbled, her voice barely audible. She turned and disappeared back into her house, leaving the door ajar. Lily watched as Mrs. Davison reappeared moments later, marched stiffly to the Tesla, and yanked the plug from the charging port. She didn't meet. The tables turned. How dare you? Mrs. Davison screeched, her features twisted into a mask of outrage. The Tesla's severed charging cable, now inert, resembled a cast-off snake's skin in the gentle breeze. You think you can just vandalize my car? I'll unleash the lawyers, Chun. I'll sue your whole lineage back to whatever backwater you crawled out of. Lily's temper flared. We didn't vandalize anything. You were pilfering electricity. It's theft, plain and simple, Mrs. Davison. Her father intervened, his tone measured yet resolute. Actually, it was a rather clever safeguard, Mrs. Davison. We installed a miniature breaker tailored to your Tesla's, shall we say, delicate power needs. Needs that seemed to spike suspiciously whenever you tapped into our supply. The surge shorted out the charging port. Permanently, I suspect. He displayed the tiny device, its function belying its appearance. My own design, I confess. The fight drained from Mrs. Davison's face as quickly as the charge from her battery. Her arrogance evaporated. Neighbors, alerted by the escalating conflict, looked on, barely concealing their delight. A burning shame flushed her cheeks. She stammered, I didn't realize the draw was so significant. Lily remained unmoved, arms crossed. You knew you lacked permission. You consciously chose to steal. Silence descended, punctuated only by the chirping of crickets. Finally, Mrs. Davison mumbled, Fine, fine. I apologize. I'll reimburse you for the power. The words tasted bitter on her tongue. She scanned the assembled faces, a blend of schadenfreude and disbelief, then fixed her gaze on Lily's father. Just tell me the amount I owe. That evening, an impromptu street party blossomed. Tables groaning with potluck dishes spilled onto the pavement. Laughter danced in the twilight. Mr. Chin, typically withdrawn, held court, animatedly describing the intricacies of his protective circuit. Lily, warmed by the glow of vindication and community spirit, savored a satisfaction she hadn't anticipated. The air, scented with barbecue and night-blooming jasmine, felt cleansed, invigorated. The balance of power had shifted, and the neighborhood, liberated from Mrs. Davison's petty tyranny, celebrated its newfound harmony.